Happy Tuesday morning, everybody. Steven Zom here with another episode of Tooth Teacher Tuesday. Continuing with what we've been talking about the past few weeks about fluoride and how it affects your dental health and your overall health. This week's topic, I'm going to talk about kind of the more controversial and debated aspect of fluoride, which is its role in public drinking water. And so a lot of this I'm going to be just throwing out some statistics from, these are primarily coming from Indiana State's environmental public health website. But I guess most important things to remember, as we've talked about previously, is that fluoride, as long as it's regulated at a modest level, is not toxic to the rest of the body, and it still has that effect of strengthening the teeth against cavities. So because of that, most public drinking water is going to have some kind of fluoride regulation. Now, that can take a couple different forms, because while most public drinking water, or I guess I should say most water in general, is not going to have a high enough level of fluoride to have any dental benefit, some areas have drinking water that the fluoride is naturally high enough that they don't even have to add fluoride to the drinking water. In fact, some it's so high that it is considered unhealthy levels of fluoride, and they actually have to treat it to bring the fluoride levels down. And so, taking the state of Indiana as an example, based on what our government reports, as of 2018, 92.4% of public drinking water here in the state of Indiana has fluoride, either regulated or naturally has enough fluoride to have dental benefit. So here locally in Indianapolis and Greenwood, where I practice, the fluoride is regulated. Fluoride is added to the drinking water to bring it up to that adequate level. And I can say without a doubt that the patients that I see, for the most part, are pretty low rate of cavities. Not to say we don't ever see them, but very, very low compared to some areas that may not have their fluoride levels regulated. And so for another example, my hometown of Roanoke, the fluoride levels in the water naturally are high enough that they don't have to add any to the public drinking water. And so I would, for me, I've never had a cavity, but I also grew up on well water. But, like I said, the public drinking water is going to have about the same amount of fluoride because it naturally exists at that high a level. So I would partly attribute that, among other things, to the fact that I've never had a cavity. And so all that's to say is, across the board, the state of Indiana reportedly has about 0.1 to 0.2 milligrams of fluoride per liter, naturally, which the optimal level for dental benefit is 0.7 milligrams per liter. So naturally, the average is about a third of what it should be to be beneficial, a third to a fourth. And so that's why, for the most part in Indiana, public drinking water is going to be treated to have adequate fluoride levels. And, it's also why we typically see in areas that don't regulate their fluoride levels in their water, we see a higher rate of cavities. And that's generally, without painting with too broad a brush, that's generally going to be more rural areas that either don't have the funding and the resources to make that available, or it's areas that, due to politics and some of the misconceptions we've previously talked about, choose not to fluoridate their water because of concerns about it being toxic. And so that's where that remaining 6% or excuse me, 8% or so in Indiana does not regulate their fluoride. So that's a little bit about fluoride in drinking water. Like I said, this is more focused on Indiana, but the general idea is fairly universal. So hope this cleared up some misconceptions, and obviously if it raised any questions for you, feel free to reach out and let me know in the comments. But otherwise, have a great week, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Tooth Teacher Tuesday. Until then.